Hey, Ray Del Vecchio here from websiteprofitcourse.com. Here's a look at a finished web designer portfolio template that I made using Divi. And this tutorial, it's going to be a little bit different because instead of doing this step by step, I'm going to show you how you can use Divi's import-export feature to just get this design up in a couple of clicks. And then we'll go through the back end. I'll show you exactly how I built each of these templates and sections. You can download the tutorial resources. I'll link that up below in the description. If you'd like to do it from scratch, you'll have everything you need right there. But if you want the quick and easy way, you prefer to download these layouts that I'm going to show you, you can buy them for a small cost, which of course helps support my channel. And they'll also be available to Business Pro subscribers. So all those links are in the description below. Let's start at the beginning with domain registration and hosting, which if you already have set up, feel free to skip ahead. But if not, I recommend two companies. If you want the most affordable way to start, go with HostGator. I've been a customer there since 2009. But if you're looking for better performance out of the box and a few additional WordPress features built in, SiteGround is the way to go. I currently host a lot of my client websites on SiteGround. If you'd like to compare the two services, check out the links below. But for today, since I want to enable the most amount of people to get started with a portfolio website, we're going to go step by step with HostGator since they are the most cost effective. HostGator is one of the most affordable hosting companies around. They've been in business since 2002, and I've been a loyal customer for over a decade after using a couple smaller companies that just weren't as good. So I don't want you to procrastinate or wait any longer. And I will click the Get Started button here on HostGator's homepage. They have three main options: the hatchling plan, the baby plan, and the business plan. And if you're creating one website, I recommend you go for the hatchling plan. And if you want to create multiple websites, go for the baby plan. You can always upgrade later. For now, I'm going to start with the hatchling plan. You can see here that they give you 1 year of free domain registration. If you already have your domain with another provider, you can just click this tab up here. And then once you get set up, you'll just have to update HostGator settings within your domain provider. If you register your domain, they're going to be linked together automatically, so it's a little bit easier. It's one less step. There's one other thing with registering a domain, and that is domain privacy. Sometimes companies or marketers can get access to your contact information through your domain name. So if you don't want that to occur, you can just add on this domain privacy for $14.95 a year. If you'd like to uncheck it and you want to live dangerously and save a little bit of money, you can uncheck it, but I'll leave it selected for now. In step 2, we already have the hatchling plan selected, and we just got to choose our term. You can go month to month if you'd like, but obviously the longer the term, you're going to get the better deal. And I recommend going for the longest term you can afford. And I think a good middle ground is 1 year. So that's what I'll select here. In section 3, this is where you're going to create your account, and I already have an account. That's why you can see they have my credit card on file. So you'll just have to fill out your information, and you can either use a credit card or pay with PayPal. In section 4, there's additional services that you can add on, and I recommend you just uncheck all of these because you can do a lot with WordPress plugins. You don't need to set this up from the get-go. And if you want to get the best price, obviously, you don't want to add anything else on besides the domain and the hosting. In section 5, this is where you can enter a coupon code, and you might see a coupon code in here by default. If you'd like to support my channel and my website, I really appreciate if you use my coupon code WPC1. That allows me to create free tutorials like this, along with the WordPress training that I'll talk about at the end of the video. And if we review our order here, you can see that the subtotal is $140 and we're getting a $78 discount, with our grand total being under $65 to get set up for the entire year. And the last step is clicking that checkbox and hitting the Checkout Now button. And the payment's completed, and they're just setting up our account right now. We should get forwarded to our HostGator account portal. And there we go. We can see that our order's completed, and then this is where we can manage anything that we purchase within HostGator, whether it's hosting, any add-ons in the marketplace, or email. You can manage your domains here if you just have domain names with no hosting, and then edit your billing. And last but not least, if you have any issues along the way, go ahead and contact their support. So let's click this button here and view our dashboard. And we got our hosting package here with the options to manage it. If you go to cPanel, you'll see more options, but these are the most widely used ones, which is email accounts, databases, file manager, and the one that we want is install WordPress. This brings us to the WordPress installation page, and we can hit the Install Now button. You want to make sure you do this under a secure protocol, HTTPS, and then you can choose whether or not you want the www or not. I usually leave it off just to keep the domain short. We pick our domain here if you have multiple domains, and then you can install WordPress in a subdirectory if you like, but I'd say 90 to 95% of the time, your best bet is to do it on the top level directory, and you want to make sure you have the latest version of WordPress installed. Here you can see I got an error message or a warning that says our SSL certificate was not found. That's what's needed to run HTTPS. And it may take a little bit of time for that to provision. It doesn't always happen immediately. And these are the WordPress specific details here. This is where you can name your site, add a site description, and then pick your admin username. And I recommend that you change this from admin. Make sure you save your password. I use a password manager like LastPass. And you want to make sure you have an active email address. Down here they give you the language. Usually I like to delete all the plugins because sometimes it comes pre-installed. I do recommend this one, limit login attempts. I use it on some of my client sites. That'll just let you know if people are trying to hack into your site by logging in. If we click on the advanced options here, this is just giving us our database information, and we really don't need to worry about that or change anything there. And lastly, you can pick your theme. This is the great part about WordPress, that you have thousands and thousands of themes to choose from, or if you're more of a creative person, you can use a drag and drop theme builder. The one that I recommend is Divi, and I'll link that in the description below. But for now, we're just going to use the default WordPress theme. So I'll hit select theme here, click yes on this image copyright message, and then you can also email your username and password and other installation details if you like. I'll include a copy to the admin address I set above, and then we'll hit the install button, and hopefully everything works here. And we got our congratulations message along with the URLs that we can access our new WordPress website along with a login screen to edit our website. So let's check it out. Let's go to our homepage and we'll log into WordPress as well. And you can see here that I have this connection is not private warning message because we don't have our SSL certificate installed yet. I'm back here just about 5 to 10 minutes later, and here's our WordPress website. Obviously, it's very basic. We have no content in there. And if I go to the next tab, this is our WordPress dashboard. So like I mentioned before, the first thing I normally do is go to the plugin section because you got a lot of stuff on your screen here. I just uninstall all the unwanted plugins. It can get a little bit bloated, so I like doing them one by one once you know exactly what features you need. So I'm going to select them all here. The two that I'm going to keep are Loginizer. This is that one that limits the login attempts. And Yoast SEO, which I recommend that you keep so you can get found a little bit easier in Google. That plugin lets you optimize posts and pages with keywords. So let's deactivate these and then we can delete them. And that should clean up our dashboard and our screen there. You won't see any of these, pop-up messages from all these plugins. And I want to do the same thing. Like I said, I want to delete them first. You got to deactivate them before you can delete them. And I will delete these plugins. And we'll be left with a nice clean installation. I'm back here on the WordPress dashboard, and we're ready to build this portfolio website. I got WordPress updated, which, by the way, if you go over to the updates here, this is going to show you all your core WordPress updates, along with any plugin and theme updates that might be available to you. You'll get a little red notification when you have any updates that are ready to go, and you can also enable them to do that automatically. Now, the way we're going to start is by installing Divi. So we got to go over to Appearance Themes. And since the last update, WordPress released a newer theme, 2022, which is installed now. But I'm going to go ahead and upload the Divi zip file, which I downloaded from my member area. So I'll just choose that here. Let's install and activate. And normally I recommend that you create a child theme. Now that's not 100% necessary. The main reason that you would want to do that is if you wanted to add custom code to the functions.php file. You can't do that within the parent theme because that's going to get overwritten. So let's go over to the plugin section here, and we're going to install Contact Form 7, which that's the contact form that I like using. And you can see here it's got over 5 million active installations. It's very simple. And what we're going to do is import both Divi templates along with WordPress templates. So if I go over to the Tools Import section, this is how you can import your posts from platforms like Blogger, LiveJournal, but you can also do it from WordPress, another WordPress website. So I'm going to install this WordPress importer tool, and I have a couple export files, which I'll show you in a second here. And then I can just click the Run Importer button, and we can grab our export files and import these to get that portfolio site set up. So here's a look at all the export files. And just an FYI, I've been building a lot of websites with Divi lately, but I'm not the world's expert on it. If you're a Divi user and you got a better way of doing this or a different way, please let me know in the comments below. I have 4 Divi exports. These are all the JSON files. And then I have 4 WordPress exports, which are the XML files. Now, I know you can export your Divi templates within the WordPress importer exporter. I just don't know how that operates. I didn't even give that a try. I did everything just right from the Divi settings. So we're going to start here by importing the media. So let's do that from here. And the reason that I'm doing the media first is because some of these other pages and posts use the media. So if it doesn't exist, you might get some type of error. You got this screen here, which is assigning the authors of the old post to the new post. So just select whatever your username is from this drop down. And for the media, you can click this checkbox, download and import file attachments. So right now this export file is running from one of my hosting accounts. That's part of the reason why I made this a paid product as opposed to giving it away for free. But if you grab these layouts, it's not going to cost you that much and it'll save you a lot of time. So let's click submit. Let's get this show on the road and we'll continue with the other export files. We can first just have a look at the media section now. So we have the exact same media library that was in that portfolio website. And by the way, these are free stock photos. I got these stock photos from pexels.com and the screenshots are from websites that I've built with Divi. The landscaping one, I have a full tutorial, which I'll link up here in the top right. So let's go back to the import section and we can move on to do the pages and the projects. So we'll start with the pages first. And this is just your standard home page, about page. So let's upload that. Do the same thing with porting the authors. For the rest of these, we don't have to check this box off. So let's submit. And we can go over to our pages and see what got imported. And you can see we got the blog page, the about page, the home page. This is where you want to update your settings so that you set your home page because that's going to be hooked in with the Divi builder. So just go to settings reading and this is where we can set our static home page to the home and our post page to the blog. And I actually think that the Divi homepage selection overrides this, but what I notice is that the blog page won't show the posts unless you have it set here. So it is important to set that blog page. So we'll save that. Let's go back to the importer. And now we'll do our projects, which the projects post type is a custom one that is added when you install Divi. So if you don't have Divi, you're not going to have that projects post type up here. But it's just an easy way to feature your projects in your portfolio website. So let's upload that with the same selections as the pages. And if we go to our projects section here, you can see I have 3 test projects. 2 of these are templates that I built with actual screenshots, and this last one here, I just put in a filler image. And then the last file that we're going to import from WordPress is the contact form. So you're going to get the exact contact form built out for you, and you'll see that it's going to be styled as well. So let's go ahead and import this. And then with contact form 7, when you install it, you have this added section contact here. So you should be able to see the contact form. And that's this Let's Talk footer section. So you just need one contact form for the entire website. Obviously, you can create other ones. But hopefully all these IDs are linked correctly because this shortcode is what I place in the Divi template to show this contact form. So we got the final files to import, and these are all the Divi ones. So I numbered these in that folder. Let's take a look again. So the first one is the theme options. The second one is the Divi customizer. That's going to be our CSS along with our defaults like the typography, the button styles, that kind of thing. Then we import our Divi library. These are just the modules that we can create and reuse. And the last and most important one is the theme builder. This is what gives you the templates for all of the pages on your website. The theme options, we can import that right from the theme options section. There is no one centralized section to import these. You have to do it where the options are. So this is where your theme options are, and this button up here allows you to import and export. So let's import our theme options. And we got the check mark there. So part of this portfolio template is the color scheme, which I got from a color scheme generator website. That's all set for you. Let's move on to the next one, which is the customizer. So we got to go to the appearance customize section. Divi's additional CSS, they have a place where you can add that in their theme options. I'm pretty sure it actually syncs up with this additional CSS. Yeah, it does, because you can see I didn't add anything here, but this was from the Divi options import. So these are our customizations for contact form 7. This is all CSS that I have done for you. So we'll step through that once we get the import done. But just like the other page, we have this 2 arrows button to import export. And we'll import our settings. And now that's good to go. Until we get the theme builder templates installed, you're not going to see much in this preview window. So let's exit out of here. Let's import our Divi library. And I believe this is only 1 or 2 things. We can hit the import and export button. And we got that ready. So here we have two sections, the portfolio grid and 2x2 main services. Both of these are global items. So I just wanted to have these imported before we use them within the theme builder. And that's the last import that we have to do. So let's go over to our theme builder. Right now this is empty, and then this overrides the default Divi header and footer. So once you start building with the theme builder, you'll notice in the appearance customize section that the header and footer options get removed from that because you're building it 100% through the Divi drag and drop builder. But we'll upload or import our theme builder layouts so we can do all this. Obviously, if you want to edit anything, you can go ahead and do that. We got a couple options down here: override the default website template, allow import to override existing assignments. Since this was blank, these two options are okay. I don't think I have any presets in these theme builder modules, but that's something I may add if I update this in the future. Presets are just default styles for certain modules. I'm still getting used to how to, properly use all these different levels within Divi. So I'm just going to keep these first two checked and we'll import, and you'll be able to see the templates that I have built, and we'll jump into them one by one right after this, after we preview the website. So we got our default, which is everything that doesn't match one of these other templates. We got our homepage template. All of these use the same global header and footer, but we just have some custom bodies on these pages, like the blog page, which is also used for the archive pages. We got our single post template, projects page, this is all the individual project posts along with the portfolio page, which is our project page. So let's save all these templates. And now we can preview our website, and hopefully we don't have any bugs. It looks like everything's working correctly. The one thing that I wasn't able to manually export, and I noticed this, is the menus. The menus are wrapped into the full export, but like I said, I wanted to do the Divi ones within Divi, not using the WordPress importer exporter. So I didn't include the menu, so we'll just have to quickly update that, but that's an easy step. You can see some of the sections that I have built. Some of that custom CSS includes this checkmark style for a bulleted list. And then this is the portfolio grid, which if you have more than 3 projects, it'll fill here, jump to a second row. And like I mentioned, the first two are real screenshots, and this 600 by 800, that's just a placeholder image. This is the 2x2 services. By the way, all of these buttons, instead of linking to a separate page, every single one of them links to that contact form. It'll jump right down to the contact form. Divi adds that smooth animation where it scrolls down over time as opposed to jumping immediately. And then I got a little testimonial section down here along with your social icons and address in the footer section. You got a really, really nice starting base along with all these images which you can reuse since they're stock photos. Let's take a look at some of the inner pages. We'll jump into the project portfolio layout. So this is as if it was one of your web design clients. I use a little Google Chrome add-on called Full Page Screen Capture to grab these screenshots, and then you can edit it to make sure that it's standardized across your other websites. But this is the 2-column layout that I use for the portfolio page. If we go to the projects page, one thing that I had here was the portfolio grid. It looks like that might not have gotten copied over. And that could just have to do with the section ID within the Divi library. So we'll debug some of that. If we go over to the blog page, we have one blog post. I don't think this has any featured image as part of it, which I can test that out. And then this is the single post layout, which is very similar. If we go to the About Me, this should have the stock photo image, so that's working correctly. So let's go into the theme builder. Let's check out all of these customizations and how this website is built. Let's jump right into the global header and the footer. I'll do that after. These are on every single one of these templates. You'll see how we can build this with the Divi builder. This is pretty simple. I have a row here with 2 columns. They're equal columns. And what I did was set the max width right over here, I think in the sizing section, to 600 pixels, because otherwise this would be full width and the logo would just be a little bit too far on the left and there would be a lot of white space in between. So I just wanted to minimize that. And I think the only other thing that I have done here is the spacing. I set all the margin and the padding to 0. So that's really all I got here. This is just an image. This is a logo image. And then on the right here, this is just text with a button. I use the default button style. And one thing I noticed with Divi, sometimes when you hover over the button, it's not showing now because of that overlay. Well, let me see if I can drop it down here. You can see what it looks like on tablet and mobile. All those columns turn into one single column. And it looks like it's tough to show here, but when I hover over this, I do get an icon, and the icon's a little bit offset. That never happens on a live website, so I've never brought that up to the support team over at Divi. This button just goes right down to the contact form, like we said before. And then this is the mobile menu, which I got to create the menu now with any of the pages that I want on my top level navigation menu. And we'll take a look at the footer, which is very similar, just a couple of sections here. And then this is our 2x2 services, and you can see that we have this lime green color, which indicates this is a global section. So it looks like when we imported this to the Divi library, that connection stayed when we imported the theme builder. And these are all just Divi's blurb module with the icons. So these aren't uploaded images. These are icons that you can select here within Divi's image and icon section. So I think this looks pretty good, and it represents, a freelancer services pretty well. Obviously, you can jump in and change it if you have any other services that you offer. Then we have our contact form section, which this is just an icon with a title, a little text section here, and then this is contact form 7. So this is just the shortcode that you can copy from the contact form area on your WordPress admin, and you can paste it into a Divi code module. Of course, if you want, you can just use Divi's built-in form element. And then down here we have a testimonial area. Now this is another thing with Divi. Sometimes when you scroll down a big layout and you hover over a module, that this pop-up won't always show. I recommend you do a couple of things. Either right-click and then left-click, and it might show. Otherwise, use this 3-dot icon down here and then drop it down to a responsive size. And then once you do that, it'll load up the Divi module template, because sometimes, like I said, this settings bar doesn't show. These are like little bugs that are within Divi, but you can fix them if you just figure out how the bugs operate. I got this element here. This is a testimonial module. Like the other one, I used a free stock photo for the headshot. And then lastly, down here, you have your two elements. You got your single section social icons bar, which we can style. You can either use the colorful icons, or like we did here, do a white icon to overlay over whatever color you have with this section. And then down here, you got any text information you want to add into your footer. You can obviously build this out a little bit further if you'd like. Right now, I just got a fake address there. And then down here, we're using dynamic text in order to insert that date. So if we look at the settings with this, you can see that the way this operates is you have the text that you're going to put before the dynamic text, which is our copyright with that C icon. And then after, all rights reserved. And the dynamic text is going to be date. And if you have to look at the PHP date function, there's ways to do the format so you can get any date display that you like. But this capital Y basically is just the 4-digit year. So it'll always insert the current year as opposed to you having to update that every single year. So that's really all there is to the header and the footer. Let's take a look now at some of the body sections. So we'll go into the global body first, and this is really just the default page template. If I create a new page, it's going to use this, and this is super simple. All that I got here is a post title module, and you can choose your elements from this drop down. So we're showing the title and the featured image. I'm not showing the meta because that normally only shows on the blog, and you can choose whether you want to put the featured image below or above the title. And then right under that, we have our post content module. So this is just all the content from the WordPress post and the page. And that's why I really love using the theme builder. It lets you apply these templates to a wide variety of pages, or you get to select certain pages and build out as much as you want custom, but also import from the WordPress pages and posts. So the only thing I really have here is centering the headings, and then with the custom CSS, I add this check mark bullet list. So any bullet list, instead of having the just regular dots, you have this check. I'll dig into the CSS at the end. I'll quickly go through that. It's nothing fancy about this at all. Now the real meat of this layout is the home custom body. So let's jump into that and we'll take a look at how this is built. And for this one, I picked out a custom stock photo that shows a little analytics dashboard right in the background there. And we got a simple title, text, and our button. So if you're not sure how to link to an area on the page, if we go into the module settings here, and actually I think I mentioned this before, when you hover over this, you can see how this icon's offset. This only happens to me on the builder. I've never seen it happen on the front end that the visitor sees. So this is a little issue that I have never reported or tried to fix because of that. But let me jump into the link here, and you can see that we're linking to this hashtag CTA, and I just call it that because it stands for call to action. So all we have to do is find this element on the page, and that's the contact form, which is in the footer. But basically, this hashtag indicates that we're looking for the CTA ID. So you basically have to add an ID equals CTA to whatever area you want that button to link to. And like I mentioned before, Divi automatically adds that smooth scroll so it doesn't jump immediately, but it happens with a transition and an animation. So for this background, the section background, let me take a look. I think I just have the image and then background color or maybe gradient. Yeah, it looks like I got the gradient here that is above the background image. So that's an option right there. If you don't have this checked, then it's going to be below it and it's not going to show at all. And you just want to make sure you have enough contrast between your background image and your wording, which that can be an issue sometimes. I feel like I got really lucky with this one because I didn't have to test out 4 or 5 different images. The first one actually looked pretty good. And then in the next section here, it's a little client case study area, and we use this, I think it's a counter module. Yeah, number counter module. So you just put in the title and the number, and then when people scroll, it'll automatically count up from 0 and just animate that, which is pretty cool. So I have 3 columns with 3 of these: website visits, leads, and Google search percentage. Then we got our image here of the MacBook with a little screenshot and one more CTA button. And then down here we got the Why Choose Me section. And here's another bug that I mentioned before. When you hover over this, sometimes that module editor pop-up doesn't show. So let me do what I mentioned before, which is drop it down to the responsive and then bring it back to desktop, and it should be there. Yeah, there you go. So if we jump into here, you can see that this is just a bulleted list, and that's that CSS in action, converting it to a check mark. So the last section here on the home page, custom body, is the full width portfolio. So if I jump into this section, you can see that this is a global section because of the color. The reason I did that is because I want to reuse this on the portfolio page, and we saw before that it wasn't showing, so we're going to have to check that out and see why. My guess is it's just the ID. But you can see the settings that we have here. We use our color scheme, the red. If we jump into the module, you can see with the elements, I'm also able to show the date, but I hide that just because I want it as simple as possible, just showing the title. If we go into the design, this is the layout. You can either do a grid layout or a carousel, which I think they look similar, but there's just arrows to navigate, whereas this just stacks them and then drops down to another row. And then we have our overlay. You can choose the icon color and the background color. You can see our color palette here. And I think I just went maybe a couple shades darker for the icon color to contrast. Let's take a look now at the blog custom body, and this also is applying to all archive pages. So if you click the settings button here, this is where you can select where this template applies. So we have the blog page and all archive pages, and this is just a list of blog posts. So this would actually help if we had, just like with the portfolio, if we had 3 or 4 blog posts that were completely written, filled with content. Right now we only have that hello world, that first one. Let me just add an image to that really quickly, so we can at least see what the featured image looks like. So I'm going to jump into here and set the featured image. I'll just select the homepage banner image that we have with the analytics dashboard. We'll update that and then go back to our custom body on the Divi builder. And now you can see how that looks with the featured image. So it definitely looks a little bit better. Within this blog content module, I believe that if you're applying this to archive pages that you want to have this post for current page checked off, you can then select your post count. And then here again is your date format. You can see this MJY. This is that PHP date formatting that you need to look up. And then just like with the post title module, you can choose what elements you want to show here. So we're showing the featured image, the date, and the categories, but we're hiding the author. So very simple for these pages, the archive pages and the blog page. And we'll jump into the next one, which is the single posts. And this is going to look very similar to the default template, but the only difference, like I said, with the page is that you don't show the meta information on the page, but you do want to show it for the blog post since that's dated. And then we have our last two, which these are our portfolio pages. We have all projects. So this is the individual projects within here, kind of like the blog posts. And then the single portfolio page. Here on the portfolio page, this is where I wanted to use that global full width portfolio grid. It is working here. For some reason, I thought that it wasn't showing up on this projects page. And my guess is maybe it's just not assigned properly. So let me see where this applies. And yeah, for some reason the ID on this is set to the privacy policy. My guess is that on the whatever site I had, the ID for the projects page matches the privacy policy ID on this new WordPress installation. So let's just assign that to the right page. We'll remove the assignment to the privacy policy page and apply it to the projects page. We can save that, save our changes here. And then if we go back and refresh, we should see our full width grid appearing now. And we got that showing up. And the last one here is the all projects custom body. So this is that 2-column layout where you have your screenshot on the left. So you can see here the featured image is shown as a landscape orientation. My goal is just to try to closely match the image height with the content height on the right. But the way we have this set up is our row is, I think this is probably about 2/3 with the first column, 1/3 the second column. And I don't think I did any real custom styling to this. Most of it is just done within the WordPress post. So if we go to one of our projects, we can check out the landscaping theme. And I'm just using standard Gutenberg paragraph blocks here. So very simple. It does the job. Everything that I do for the most part is very minimal. I don't like to overcomplicate design, mainly because I'm not that good at it. I'm better with the tech stuff. But I really like the way that this turned out, and I hope you enjoy it as well. So let me quickly go through a few final steps here. I want to update the menu. So if we go to Appearance Menus, you can create your main navigation menu to replace the one that's automatically showing, which is just all the pages on your site. So I'll just call it Main Nav. We'll create that, and then we can manually add our pages. So I'm just going to do the home page, the about page, the projects page, the blog page. We can drag and drop to reorder them. And you can also add a custom link. So we'll add a contact link, but again, we don't have a contact page because we just have that contact form on every page. So the URL is going to be the same that we had before, which is the hashtag CTA. And if you'd like, you can automatically add new top-level pages to this menu, but I normally like to test out pages sometimes, and I don't want them to be added to my primary menu. And then these options you would be using if you weren't building with the theme builder. So if you were just using the default Divi header and footer, these would apply to that, but since we're not, we don't have to worry about selecting that option. Let's just save it, and we'll see if Divi is using this new nav menu. So we'll go into our header. And I believe that, yeah, there's only one menu, so they're going to use that single menu. And you can see that we got our links, and then if we click on this contact, it'll just jump right down to the contact form. The last thing I want to do is just review that custom CSS. We have a couple sections here. The first is highlight. This is an HTML markup that I didn't even know about. It's actually called mark. But basically, if you just want to highlight text, I was before using span class equals highlight, and you set the background color to like a yellowish. Then we have our buttons. So within the blog content here, I see that I'm targeting the post content module and buttons within that. So the reason I did that was because within my blog posts, I color links red, but obviously a button is a link. So what was happening was the button color, the text was red along with the background being red. So I just have this set to white to make sure that the color always stays white with this exclamation important, which kind of overrides the other CSS styles. Then we got these links. Some of the links were not being colored correctly, so I had to manually set them to red, and I think this is one example, the categories on the post page. And then we have the hover setting, which gives it the underline. That's another little limitation that I couldn't figure out how to do it with Divi. And then we got the image shadow. Another little quirk with Divi is that when you have this post title showing the featured image, they don't give you the ability to add a border just to the image. I think the border is added to the entire element. So I'm just adding a border that is really a black border, but it's 20% opacity. And then we also have a little box shadow that is 15% opacity. Here's our checklist. So this is targeting any unordered lists within the post content or within a text module. The way we add a check mark is with this content, and this is a content code 2713. This is what gives you the check mark. So this is all done without an image, which is pretty good. And then I have one checklist exclusion, and that's the post content block gallery. And the last thing here is the contact form 7 styles. I'm not going to go through it completely, but basically this gives you the look that you have here. So there you have it. That's the entire website. And I highly recommend that you get Divi. Even though I didn't go through every single setting, I think you'll be able to figure it out once you get accustomed to how their content modules operate. They have built-in styles for a ton of different modules and make it really easy to put together layouts and assign those layouts to pages within the theme builder. Go to websiteprofitcourse.com/Divi, and I'll include that link in the description below. It's well worth the price if you're building multiple websites. Which, speaking of, if you're a freelancer, go to my homepage, websiteprofitcourse.com, and you can download a giveaway 15 tools to start your web design business. So check that out. Don't forget that you can buy the layouts that we went through today. That link will be in the description below. If you're looking to switch hosting or haven't got started with hosting, I'll include the 2 hosting links below for SiteGround and HostGator. In the end, I really don't care what your hosting company is as long as you get online, but those are my 2 favorites that I've used over the past 12 years or so. Last but not least, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up if it helped you out. And if you got a portfolio website, maybe you built it with another service, I'd like to know what you used to build it, how you did it yourself, and why you're looking to switch over to WordPress. Drop that in the comments below. I hope you take these tools and use them to build something awesome.